also had to pull the electric clutch off for the... Just decided to put a new belt on it, and... Is it driving? So there you go. We will be putting the deck on here later. So hope everyone enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'm pretty sure the drive belt in the John Deere is about to go or has gone already. So I think we're going to put a new drive belt on. This is an LA 175. It has a 54-inch cut and a 26 horsepower motor. Whenever we redid we put in new seals in the transmission, pulled the transmission out of the tractor to fill it, we noticed that the drive belt was on its last legs then, and I'm surprised it lasted this long. I don't know, we're probably 6 months at least from the time that we pulled the transmission out and did the work there. We should have bought a new belt then, but it just didn't happen. And this one was still, it was still a belt. There wasn't much left of it, but I figured, we'll put it on, see how much more we can get out of it. So the last time my brother was mowing, there was apparently a bunch of smoke and stuff coming out of it, so the belt's slipping, it's just stretched. And I read on the forums, or found online, apparently you could buy the belt from your local authorized John Deere dealer, or you could do what we did and buy this is a 1/2-inch 89. Right there, 1/2-inch 89. And I looked on the forums and stuff. No, I actually found a guy that was selling a belt for this tractor, and he happened to mention the length of it, so I was able to get the length and width, but it's a 1/2-inch 89. So let's put the new belt on this thing, and hopefully this solves that problem. Hopefully this is not a problem with the transmission. I mean, the transmission, my brother said, still seemed to, it still pushed it and whatnot, but there was smoke and he could smell burning rubber, so I'm pretty sure that this is the problem. The original belt that was on this was just a regular black, it was not a Kevlar or a mixed belt, it was just a black belt, black rubber one, and that belt had 200 and, how many hours is on this thing? 293. So in 293 hours we went through one drive belt, and that's pretty good, to be honest with you, but we're replacing it with a Kevlar, so we got 7 years and 293 hours out of this belt, and I think we're hopefully get a bunch more years. This will probably be the last belt we put on this tractor for a very, very long time. So I guess without further ado, let's put a new belt on this tractor. We're going to pull the deck off and make this easy. We're just getting the mower in position here. This takes up a lot of floor space to do this job. You got to pull the whole deck out from underneath the tractor. I mean, you could probably do it with it in there, but it would be a lot easier without the deck in there. And then you have to have a spot on each side for you to lay with a creeper so you can get underneath it. And the way they designed this, you have to remove both pulleys for the clutch that tension the belt. You have to remove the deck PTO clutch, the electric one that I guess uses magnets to clamp on the belt, and then that's how the blades and stuff turn. You have to remove that, pull the wire off that, pull the bolt out, pull the pulley off of the crankshaft of the motor, because there's some belt keepers up top and you can't get the belt around those without removing that or bending them, which we did not want to have to bend them. Then you have to go to the back of the tractor and work it over the fan, and there's a stud. It's like a big long
bolt, it's only threaded on about the last, I don't know, half an inch. And you have to undo that, and you can only get a wrench in there, and you can only turn it about a quarter turn every time, and there's probably 20 threads, or I don't know, 15 threads on it, or 12 or whatever. But it takes 4 turns with the wrench for you to equal 1 turn of that. So this job was not very easy. Oh, you also had to remove the steering column, because the steering wheel, the shaft for the gear, goes in between the belt, and you really had to take a lot of things apart on this tractor to do this job. I kind of see why some people, they either go out and buy a new machine, or they just, this one just gets parked, or they just sell it. I mean, for us to do this, it wasn't a big deal, but I mean, it was definitely some work, don't get me wrong, but I was just kind of surprised how they designed this. Between the clutch pulleys, the PTO engagement clutch there, that had to be removed, the other pulley on the crankshaft, and the bolt in the back on the transmission. I mean, it was just a lot of extra stuff to kind of try to get this tractor working again. I mean, it's still worth it, don't get me wrong. I mean, we only have 293 hours on this thing, but I'm really glad we did this. Obviously, we could not have kept using this tractor like that with the belt smoking and whatnot. That belt is literally probably an inch or two away from the gas tank, so if something were to, I don't know, spark or something get super hot, you could probably catch this mower on fire. So, but I'm glad we removed the deck. That made things a lot easier, and it took us probably at least an hour and a half just to get the old belt out, and then it probably took us a good 45 minutes to put everything back together again. And I've got to say, fortunately, everything was not seized together. Usually like the motor pulleys and stuff on the main crankshaft of the motor, those will get really rusted on in place, and you will probably mangle the old one trying to get it off. So we were very lucky that came off quite easily. So I mean, I've got to say, they may have coated this stuff in never seize or something to keep things from seizing together, because pretty much, I mean, everything came apart. It was just kind of a lot of stuff that had to come apart just to get the old belt out. And I also found out we have a slight leak in the bottom crankshaft seal of this tractor. There was a lot of oily dirt and stuff underneath it. So I'm guessing that's what the problem is there. We've not had to add any oil to the tractor because it doesn't really burn it or anything, so it's not really worth us trying to put in a new seal when the old one really isn't leaking that much. Here we are putting in the new belt, and of course, when you do a job for the first time, it's always more difficult than it needs to be because you've never done this before. And when we took this apart, we kind of knew sort of how things went back together again. But then once we got the belt put up there and weaved through where it needed to be, it really went together quite well. Of course, it did take some time, but it's just one of those things that you just have to do it. We did need quite a number of tools to do this, and wrenches, and I also forgot there's a bracket on the PTO clutch for the mower deck that you have to remove also to get the clutch out, although you might be able to leave that on and just undo the bolt at the bottom. And if I remember correctly, the bolt at the bottom of the crankshaft to remove the PTO clutch is a forward and reverse one, so you don't have to go forward to loosen it, or it's a righty-tighty, lefty-loosey deal. which was kind of nice because we didn't really know exactly. Let's see, we had to think about that for a bit. You know, which way do we tighten or loosen the bolt on that to get it off of the motor itself. But this is a two-person job. I have to be up top here holding onto the steering wheel while my brother tightens the bolt down underneath. So you definitely need two people to do this, and two people really helps to do just about anything, it seems like, because then you have an extra hand. You know, can you give me I don't know, a wrench or a socket, or you know, whatever the case may be. And I've got to say, having a light also helps up underneath. We could have worn a headlamp. I have a headlamp or two that just runs off of batteries, and you strap it to your head, and it works quite well for lighting up underneath the mower here. But we're just putting everything back together, and it was pretty warm the day that we were doing this. I try to not work out in the heat during the day. It's just too warm, and I'll wait till after dinner or in the early mornings when it's a lot cooler to, you know, kind of do things like this. But fortunately, we're not out in the sun, because that would have been really miserable doing that. So now I think we're going to probably give this thing a test drive here.
So my brother and I got the drive belt replaced. Boy, this was a nightmare. There's a stud that you have to remove down on top of the transmission, and you can only, it's one of those ones where it takes a quarter turn with the wrench, and that's all you can do, and seems like there's a million miles of thread on it, but that's on top of the transmission. We had to pull the steering column, and we also had to pull the electric clutch off for the deck to do this job. So this was a pretty in-depth, really a pain to do this, and I wonder if they're making these so you can't really fix them, or they want you to take them to your local authorized dealer. But what ended up happening was this little piece of wood somehow wedged itself up in between the pulley and the belt, and that's what was touching, and that's what was causing the belt to shred. So that, and I'll show you the belt. Here's the belt. She is pretty frayed. We probably could have maybe gotten out of, you know, having to replace this whole belt, but we were in there doing this. We decided to put a new belt on it, and it's a 1/2 inch 89 is what we put on it, and that's about the same length as that. So I guess we will fire it up here, and we don't have any other tools around there. Yep. And we're just going to drive it around a bit and take it up and down some steep hills, and hopefully it'll work. I guess you could engage the electric clutch, maybe not. I wouldn't worry about it for right now, but all right, start her up. Driving good? Seems like it. Take it up and down some steep hills.
Generally, after we do something like this to one of the mowers, what I like to do is take it for a spin around and make sure that, you know, nothing is wrong with it right out of the gate. You know, before we put the deck and stuff back on, and before we put all of our tools away, I want to, you know, take this thing out and use it. You know, see if you can get the belt to slip, see if things aren't good. He's spinning the tires there on the ground, so that's why he's not going back up the hill. But anyways, I always try to get into the habit of doing that, you know, before you put everything away, and, you know, just get it good enough so you can drive it around. And you can see up underneath, there's the transmission there, there's the two pulleys, there's the steering shaft, and then there's the electric Pto clutch with the other pulley up top there. So it's just one of those things that takes longer than it should. but I'm glad it's back together for now.
I guess we will consider that a fix for now. The belt's a little looser than I care for, but I guess with a hydrostat, you don't want the belt super tight. Not really what I'm used to, but... So there you go. We will be putting the deck on here later. I am going to replace some of the idler pulleys on that. The bearings are getting pretty noisy, and it's time to replace them. So hope everyone enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more, and hopefully we will see you all in the next one. Thanks for watching.